Hello and welcome to Pest Perspectives episode 34. This week we have something a little bit different. We have Seirian Sumner. Get it right on?
Seirian.
Right, there we go. Sorry, Seirian. There we go. The author of a great book called Endless Forms, The Secret World of Wasps. And it's a really good one. And I've just found out just before the show, you were the voice actor on it. I never actually noticed who read it out. But yeah, you did a good job.
Thank you.
16-hour book though it was. I'm sure it was 16 hours on the audio book.
It was a whole week in a recording studio, and I was so fed up with the sound of my own voice by the end of the week.
Well, you do, because also, like, at that point, you realise that what you hear when you're speaking, you sound completely different, don't you? It's why a lot of people hate the sound of their own voice.
Yeah, I can't do my audiobook.
No, that's fair, especially the week you had. But no, it's do you want to tell people what you do now and what you've done with all your degrees and everything you've got to this point? Because you're quite the wasp expert, you are.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, all I will say is I'll start off by saying it's a complete accident that I'm a wasp expert. I never used to be especially into insects, let alone wasps, when I was a young person. But I did enjoy I was interested in animals, animal behaviour, and I ended up going to study zoology at UCL as an undergraduate. Mainly because I was a big fan of David Attenborough and I like the cute furry animals. Never imagined that I'd end up studying these tiny, slightly spiky insects. And I was always really interested in the kind of questions that you could use animals to help you understand the world a bit better. And I was especially interested in behaviour. Again, David Attenborough's fault. And then I just sort of accidentally fell into studying wasps for my PhD because I was in the right place at the right time, and the questions were about social behaviour, which really interested me. So it was about why should any individual give up the chance to reproduce to help another individual? So that's the sort of the ultimate question to try and answer in the evolution of sociality. And I remember sitting in the office of Jeremy Fields, who was to become my PhD supervisor, and I said to him, well, I think it's really interesting, but I just don't like wasps. And he said, oh no, don't worry, no, these wasps don't sting, it's fine, you'll be fine. And of course that was a lie, because of course they're stinging wasps, they do sting. But I have to say they are a great entry-level wasps, the ones that I studied. They're a far cry from the wasps that most of your pest controllers deal with in the UK. They are these Malaysian hover wasps, and they do sting, they can sting, but it's described as a fragrant tickle. So it's not really anything like a punch. So they were a very good entry-level beginner's wasp. And I remember the moment when I was sort of lying on the floor of this rainforest in Southeast Asia. It sounds terribly exotic and exciting. And it wasn't very exotic at all. We lived in a wooden hut with no electricity and cold showers, and it was all very unglamorous. But anyway, the rainforest was amazing, and the wasps in the rainforest were amazing. And I remember lying on the jungle floor with a wasp nest literally like this close to my face.
Wow.
Looking at the wasps, and we'd marked the wasps. We knew what age they were. We could put little paint dots on them, so we'd followed their lives through for the last few weeks. And I just remember thinking, wow, this is actually quite cool, and these insects are so misunderstood. They're really fascinating, and they are just like a little meerkat colony. So I managed to persuade myself that after all I had ended up in the David Attenborough world of studying like meerkats, cute little furry animals, except they were insect versions of meerkats.
Did you start to try and make the David Attenborough voice as you were watching the wasp nest?
Well, yes, here I am watching the wasp. No, sadly, I don't really good at the David Attenborough voice, but I definitely realised that actually, all parts of nature, even the bits of nature that we find difficult to love, they do deserve our attention because they are quite remarkable. feats of evolution. So I guess that's when I sort of realized wasps were okay, but I still wasn't completely hung up on wasps then. And I went on to study ants for a bit. So I went to Copenhagen to study leaf cutting ants in Panama. So the postdoc was in Copenhagen, but I spent time doing fieldwork in Panama. And these were these leaf cutting ants that sort of troop through the jungle carrying the leaves. Very amazing. Cool. They live in an association with a fungus. So they actually collect the leaves and they put them in the fungus garden, and then the fungus breaks down the leaves, and then they feed the fungus to their larvae. So it's a symbiosis with the ants and the fungus living together. And that was kind of cool, but I realized that the ant world was a little bit busy, a little bit crowded. A lot of people study ants. And at the time when I was in Panama studying these ants, I also happened to notice these amazing wasp colonies all over the buildings and the places that we were staying. And people were just saying, "Oh, those are horrible. They're Polistes wasps. Oh, they're going to hurt you. Oh, we knock them down." And I realized that actually they were just like a bigger, more slightly scary version of the wasps that I studied for my PhD in Malaysia. And I decided to go back and study wasps because I thought the ant world has got enough people. The wasp world needs some cheerleaders. And so I've been studying wasps ever since. That's over 20 years ago now. And and so I've become an accidental cheerleader for wasps, because having not, I'm just like your normal person. I'm a product of culture that I was brought up to fear wasps. But I sort of see that, somebody's got to stick up for them, and they're actually really important as pest controllers and pollinators and decomposers. And I think there's a really strong message to be shared there. And my experience is that people don't take a lot of persuasion to realize that actually they have a reason. If they have a reason to tolerate them, then they're much more amenable to trying to live alongside them.
I mean, it's quite like this summer. I've done a few nests, and this has customers where I've done one because it's in where the door is. Like, that's quite a dangerous place. But they'll go, "I've got 2 more in the back of the garden, but don't worry, and I'm not bothered by them." So I found this year, a lot of people have left the wasps alone that ain't in danger. Because I do get stick off people sometimes telling me they are nature's pest controllers, and I says, I know. I says it's a public health risk. That's why we do this. Mm-hmm. It's not like I go with my backpack through the forest. I don't do that. No. It's only an interest in public health. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I had a wasp nest in a place that was going to be dangerous for my family, then of course I would remove it. And it's really interesting though, and good to hear what you say about people's. I mean, it'd be interesting to know if the pest controller community in general have noticed any shifts in people's reactions and responses to wasp nests in the last few years.
Well, I noticed that on a few of them, that was all. Mm-hmm. And she was like, "I'm only doing it because it's dangerous. I don't like killing wasps because I've never noticed it before. I'm not saying it's widespread. I could try and ask people if they've experienced that. I don't know if others have. Yeah. But it's a lot of there's been a lot of ground nests this year. A lot of nests in the ground are found, but they were early. I don't know why.
Well, they're early. I can tell you why they're early. Yeah. So they're early because the wasps they are textbook wasps, honestly. Yeah. It's like they've read the textbook. They know that, well, no, they don't know. If it's, we know from long-term studies that wasps do really well if they have a warm, dry spring. And that's because when the foundresses have just come out of hibernation in the spring, they're found in their nest, that little small nest. And until the workers first emerge, the queen is doing all of the foraging, all of the nest building, all of the rearing of the brood herself. Yeah. If the weather is cold and wet, there's less prey around. She's more likely to get washed away and, killed in the rainstorm. And so we had a lovely, warm, dry spring this year. And that has a big impact on the mortality rates of wasps. So many more foundress colonies survived through to forming colonies with workers, and they were able to get going quite early. So the nests and the, we've had an amazing summer, and so there've been a lot more insects in general, at least compared to last summer anyway.
Definitely has.
That's that's a reflection of the good weather and the fact there's lots more plant growth as well. And so because there's lots of prey around, the wasps have actually done quite well. So I know early on, I know this because I normally get calls from the media about wasps at the end of the summer, around about the end of August, when they start to break the picnics. And I always say that the bank holiday weekend in August it's like some kind of silly season for the media. It's like nothing else in the world is going on, and so they have to talk about wasps. And every year it's the same as, why are there so many wasps? How do we get rid of wasps? And they ask the same questions every year. But this year, those media interviews kicked off really early, like I think the end of June, early July. People were already being bothered by wasps. So it was.
I did a couple on my local radio. Because we have adverts on like, it's community radio. We see it's like helping the community, but like they were at an event where it was like the national where I live in Rutland, you see, and they do bird fair. It's like it's like a place where people come from all over the world. And the presenter said there was wasps everywhere. They were. I says I could have helped had you, because there is a device. You ever heard of the wasp bane traps to help to stem the problem? Have you ever heard of them?
Well, I've heard of lots of types of wasp traps. What kind of this?
It's a wasp. It's called wasp bane, and it captures the scouts, so you reduce the numbers to the area. But they never did. So, but basically, it was how do we, just basic advice like, don't flap your wings. Like everyone does that, don't they? Yeah. So they think you want to fight. Yeah. Just basic advice it was.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I've been doing this summer is trying to get the public to take part in this kind of citizen science project. So when a wasp comes to you at your picnic, or if you're in a cafe outside, don't flap, sit still, watch the wasp and see what she goes for. And by just watching to see what she wants, you can learn quite a lot about their behavior and the type of the stage of the colony cycle, because as you know, they'll be going for protein most of the summer, but then towards the end of the summer they'll start to go more for sugar, because the larvae have pupated, and so they don't get that sugary reward from the larvae anymore, and there's less larvae to feed, and so they are more likely to need to go elsewhere for sugar, and they tend to they'll go to plants, which is when they start good pollination, but they'll also come to our sugary drinks. And so I got the public to sort of fill in a very simple Google form of what's your wasp going for at your picnic. And it was really interesting. People from all over the world taking part. And we haven't analysed the data yet, but we had over 500 people submit their records. And what was really lovely is, first, it was really surprising that I expected it to shift from mostly protein to sugar later on in the season, but actually it maintained its kind of protein sugar splits pretty much all the time. And we have to split that down by countries and see if it's a different effect of latitude. But what was also really lovely is that people left little comments and they told a story about their experience of the wasps. And I think irrespective of how useful the data are, it means that it's helped people respond to wasps in a different way. And actually, if a wasp does bother you at a picnic, you just have to give her a little wasp offering. Like if she wants a bit of your sausage or your ice cream, then just give her a tiny bit, and she'll happily go back and forth from that tiny bit and not bother you. It's when you start moving things around and flapping and shouting and wafting your arms around that you're more likely to get stung, because you're behaving like the predators. Then, as you say, they're up for a fight.
Yeah, well, that honestly, that was great advice. I didn't know you could do that and then go to that piece of food. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you have to. When they come into your picnic, they do this sort of zigzagging thing in front of you. Yeah, and that's because they're very visual and they're using you as a landmark. Yeah. And so that's why when they're zigzagging in front of your face, it can be quite intimidating, can't it? But they're just following you up and working out where that food is in relation to this landmark that you are. Yeah. And then they will happily chew on a little bit of your food, and they're completely oblivious to you. You can get really close and take a lovely photo of them. They're chewing away a bit of ham or something, and then they'll go away. And if it's protein, they're much more likely to be coming back, because they're going back and forth to the nest with the protein. So what you need to do is just to take a bit of that ham or whatever it is they're eating and just move it slightly further away from your plate, and they will come back to it. If you move it too far, then they'll still come back to your plate, because that's what they
want. See.
And then gradually, if she's coming back and forth over time, you can move it further away. But I've seen this done. This isn't anything new. I've seen people do this all over the world. I remember being on holiday in Italy a few years ago, and sitting outside with the family having a cafe, having pizza, and there was a big table in the middle of the kind of outdoor area, eating area, with a pile of cooked ham on it, and there were hundreds of wasps on it. But that meant that they weren't bothering us, and we were eating our pizzas with no wasps bothering us.
So they left that out on purpose?
Yes, the waiters.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And it's a common tactic, and I don't know why we've not really caught on to that. In areas of the world where these wasps are invasive, and they are, there's a lot of wasps. Too many, even I would say there's probably too many wasps in places like Argentina. They will, when they go for a picnic, they will bring along a smelly piece of fish and put it a few hundred meters away from them, or a few meters away from them, and then the wasps will go to that bit of smelly fish and leave them alone. So it's just a wasp offering. It works quite well.
Hey, well, I know it's not new, but it's interesting.
I think it is, and I think it's a really good tactic for learning to live alongside wasps. There are, even if you got rid of that one wasp at your picnic, there's going to be another one coming along, and so we have to learn to live alongside them, because we can't just keep killing things that we find a nuisance.
It's a good idea, that is, for barbecues. I'll be giving that bit of information out next year. I will, when they ask me. I'll be giving that out, really? and I'll be trying it as well.
Yeah, definitely. It really works. Yeah, and it gets people interested. They're watching the insects, and then suddenly they lose the fear, and they realise that they're really, really close to that insect, and it's not bothering them. It's not going to come and fly at them, and obviously if you frighten it, it might fly at you, but you just move slowly, and they're not really interested in us at all.
I'll be trying to take part in this survey next year then, because I think I missed that somehow.
I think it was only, you know what, I've been meaning to do it for years, and then I just this year, because the media kept calling me so early, and I was so much radio, I was fed up with my own voice. I said the same thing over and over again on the radio, and I thought, well, I may as well pitch it, because there's lots of people listening, and they might do it. And I was so surprised that people were doing it. So I hope to do it again next year. That would be really good.
Oh no, is that a big number for you in terms of a survey on wasps? Is that quite big? 500.
I mean, if I was aiming, it's only really a pilot study. 500 is not that many, and as I said, we've not really analysed the data yet. So we'll have to sort of tease out, if people have reported. What people report in, Italy, for example, will be very different to what they might report in the UK, because the wasp colonies will be at different stages in the colony cycle, potentially. So I don't know how useful the data are going to be yet, but I think it's nice, because it's almost like, even if the data isn't that useful scientifically, it's actually an engagement tool, and it helps people overcome their fear of wasps and understand a little bit about their biology, because it's kind of interactive for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good to hear that, because it's trying to get people less scared of wasps.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell people to calm down, just don't panic. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of them just flap instantly.
Yeah.
I said, you're attacking it, and once you tell them that, they realise.
Yeah, they go like this.
I said to one person, you're just going to get everyone stung in a minute.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a natural response, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
We don't we go, protect ourselves, but
it's true. So the book, was it widely received by the public? The book. Have you got any feedback on the book at all?
No, it's been. I think it's done all right. You know, I've been assured by my publishers that it's what do they describe it as? The sales are solid, which I think means average.
Okay. I'm
very happy with average, as long as it's not like a below average. So yeah, I mean, it does better at wasp times of the year. People get interested in wasps, they want to read them, and it does quite well at Christmas as well. But it's I think, I mean, the reason I wrote it was that I was spending a lot of my time doing talks to like village halls of like WI or history clubs or history societies, and you know, there might be sort of 50 or so people in the room, and I could see how when I talk to them about wasps, you know, they all, I ask for, you know, who likes wasps here, and hardly anyone puts their hand up, obviously. And then I tell them, you know, these are the reasons why you should love wasps. And I can see the room change, especially when I say, look, they're really important for pest control. They're really important in regulating insect populations, and they pollinate. And immediately the room changes. They're like, oh, I get it. I get why I should like wasps. And I thought, okay, I know I've got a sort of story here, but I can't change, you know, one village hall at a time. I can't really change, you know, people's perception. So a book is a bit more of a broader view, broader reaching. So I think it's been largely received okay.
Good,
you know, I mean, obviously, like any book, you know, some people like that kind of book, and some people don't. So it's not everybody's cup of tea. I know that there's one chapter in my book, I don't know if you remember it, but I have a dinner party with Aristotle.
Oh, I enjoyed that. I thought that was great.
Okay, that's
honest. I like that. I did.
So I'm
actually re-listening to it at the minute as well, because I am. But I haven't got to that bit. I'm not far in yet. But that is good.
That's the bit which is most relevant to the pest controlling community, because it's about those vespine wasps. It's about the yellow jacket wasps.
Yeah.
And Aristotle wrote about these yellow jacket wasps 2,000 years ago, and what he wrote was actually remarkably accurate. And so I thought, well, you know, what I'd like to do is kind of bring him up to speed with what we know about wasps and what we don't know, and what we should know, what we know about honeybees, but we don't know about wasps, because the yellow jacket wasps are like the honeybee of the insect world. So of the wasp world, sorry. And so it's almost like, well, you know, we should be drawing those parallels. And Aristotle also wrote a lot about honeybees. He absolutely loved honeybees. So I sort of used that chapter. There's a lot of artistic license, and actually that is a chapter that's very Marmite. People either love it or they hate it. And
see, I suppose though as well. Sorry, see, if you read that, I've not read the book. I've listened to the book. So if you listen to the book, you probably get it more, because you're reading it, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you read it really well. So I don't know how I'll have to ask my mate Sam, because he loved the book, how it came across because he actually read it. I'll have to ask him. I will.
Yeah, but I know that some people, particularly the more scientific audiences, you know, they're reading what they think is a science book, and actually then they get this crazy chapter. And I think this is my favorite bit of feedback, though. One of the forums online, which you should never read if you've written a book, but anyway, one of these feedback like reviews online was, "This is the most eccentric science book I have ever read." I thought, yes.
You've made it.
So I mean, it's a bit wacky, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. But I know that I had one of my I've got 3 kids, and I think at the time my eldest was 15 or 16, and not really keen on reading, but I gave him that chapter to read, and he actually really enjoyed it, because it was much more relatable than something that it's a bit more sort of dry and standard sciencey book. So anyway, I enjoyed it, and I know that it's a bit of a Marmite, but I'm always interested to hear people's opinions.
I liked it because I listened to it, and then I thought it was good. I may get it to read it. I'm trying to get back into reading. You know how a lot of people read books, but they're like, they move on. But I need to get back into reading. I do.
I think audiobooks are a great way of you know, you can listen to them. You can also listen to them at sort of 1.5 speed if you want, or don't listen to me at double speed. I'll be like, oh,
yeah, I'm not. I'm no good at listening to it at any kind of speed. I'm not.
But I think I like listening to books as well. So I do a combination of reading them.
When I heard you talk about the mud wasps, I looked them up on YouTube, and it looks, there is videos of them. It looks fascinating to me.
Yeah,
it's fascinating stuff. It is.
Yeah,
they build them.
I think that's one of the things that I wanted to get across in the book, is that everybody thinks of a wasp as the yellow jackets, the ones that you know live in people's houses and sheds, but actually there's over 100,000 species of wasps.
That blew my mind, honestly. That's what.
There's probably 5 to 10 times more to discover because they are so understudied. And admittedly, most of them, 70% of wasp species, are these parasitoids, which don't have stings at all, and they lay their eggs in inside insects like caterpillars and beetle larvae, and then they don't build a nest or anything. They just lay their egg and go, and then the egg hatches into a baby larva wasp, and then it will eat through the prey. And so the majority of wasps are like that, and that's where probably the majority of the undiscovered species are as well. But, but you know, even amongst the stinging wasps, the killing wasps, there's still, I think it's less than 1% of them are actually social. And so there is, you know, there's over 30,000 species of solitary wasps that live in these, like the mud daubers, that live in these little pots, and will make these little pots, lay an egg in it, and then seal it up and say goodbye. So there's a huge diversity of wasps, and that's what I really wanted to get across.
No, you definitely got that across, but with parasitic wasps, that's been a big talking point in pest control at the minute. Because what are your thoughts on that? Because there's been, not every company, you can now buy parasitic wasps to say you've got a moth infestation in a house. You can, and that's becoming a lot more. It's not mainstream. It's getting there because it's more eco-friendly. But the problem is, it's conveying the message. I'm going to release hundreds of wasps that you can't see, and they won't sting you. It's convincing them you won't see them, but it's becoming more. There's more talk of it in the industry, let's say.
Yeah.
Did you like that kind of?
Yeah.
Did you like that idea?
Yeah, no, I do. And I did. We have bought. So I'm just thinking, my daughter has lots of plants in her bedroom, and she had thrips on her plants. And so I persuaded her that we should get some parasitoids, and she did have them in her bedroom for a while. But I'm afraid that the thrips came back. But anyway, but yeah, no, it's absolutely the way forward. I mean, you know, the thing is that the great thing about the parasitoid wasps is that once they are, yes, there are lots of little tiny wasps potentially flying within your cupboards and stuff, but then they are laying their eggs in these caterpillars, and then they will die. And once the caterpillars have died and all the moths have gone, then the wasps will die as well. So I think, you know, again, we need to just sort of adjust the way that we live, and such that it's alongside nature and with nature, making the most of nature rather than trying to use chemicals all the time, because those chemicals, of course, aren't good for your health, you know, people's health inside the house. So I think, you know, the parasitoid wasp world is it's one of the, I say that wasps are understudied, but the exception is the parasitoids, because they are incredibly well, a very small number of them are really well studied for exactly the reasons that you've just stated, that they are used for pest control. And I think the domestic use of them is probably at very low level. I have to say they're quite expensive. You know.
I see. I've never looked in how much they cost, but can you actually see them, or is it like a tiny fly? Is it real minute? Can you actually see them?
That you really wouldn't notice them. You really wouldn't see them at all. No. But you know, they are expensive to buy, and but they are, parasitoid wasps are used on scale, though, on a massive scale for pest control in greenhouses and in agriculture, and actually there are factories in Brazil that produce like billions of parasitoids, and then they package them up into kind of these football type things, and then they fly drones over the fields, which are like, the fields are like a size of a and drop the balls full of parasitoids into the fields, and then all the parasitoids emerge and then find the pests and lay their eggs, and they're really effective. So that I mean, the Brazilians are ahead of the curve in the use of parasitoids as pest control.
I just think it's going to become. It will become more part of it because everyone's getting more environmental friendly. They are. Obviously, we've lost. You went on the Beauties and Beasties last year, didn't you? With Sean and Alex.
Yes.
And they mentioned the removal of the product Phycam-D, Benicarb.
Yeah.
So we're not using that. We've all moved to different chemicals now. We have. That was gold dust, to be fair. But I've not really struggled this year on the other products I'm using. I haven't. So
what are the chemicals that are used now for wasps?
Pyrethroids. I use something called Deadline Pie Dust, and so far it's been. I've had a few callbacks, not as many as I thought, but it's working. That one in particular is better for the environment. That one is. I would explain the logistics to you, but I'm not an expert in it. I just know it's meant to be really good, and it does work. I'm not a genius. I'm still learning it all, you see, because it's worked well, but after so long, it gets ingrained in your brain. It does it. I've not got to that level yet. I haven't. I have to say,
I've met some really, really revolutionary, forward-thinking pest controllers in the last couple of years. And they are doing things like being aware that maybe killing the nest, as you said, you're already saying, if you don't have, when you get a call out, talking it through with the client, saying, well, this isn't a danger to you. It's at the bottom of your garden, or you can put a barrier around it, or let's try and leave it. But also, I only talked to him online, this pest controller in South Wales. And I think he's called Platoon Pests, I think is the company. Terry.
Okay.
Hi, Terry.
Okay.
And he's trying to relocate wasp nests. So he's trying to, when he removes the nest, when he gets a call out and he can remove the nest, and he'll try and move it to a farm where it can be useful. And it's just anecdotal, but he told us about how he'd moved nests to his mate's farm where he had a problem with flies on horses, and the wasps somehow, well, whether it was coincidence or not, but after he'd introduced a few wasp nests into the farm, the levels of flies had dropped. And that makes sense because the wasps will, of course, be hunting the flies. And so I think that's a really interesting idea. And whether there's a future where pest controllers are not just sticking the chemicals in, but they're actually trying to remove the nest colony alive and relocate it. And there are ways of doing that without it being, we dig up wasp nests for research purposes. And there's lots of wasps flying around. You have to be careful, but we use carbon dioxide to kind of knock them down for a bit. So just use the soda stream and a bit of piping and stuff. And a local pest controller, Steve, hi Steve, if you're there, near where I live in Oxfordshire, he's been doing that with his nests. And I think it's a really exciting time that the pest control community is really thinking hard about their responsibility to the natural world, and different ways of kind of helping keep people safe, and human safety comes first, but trying to work out if it's possible to relocate a nest, then let's do it. I think the main problem probably is finding out where to put it.
Do they? What's the chances of the ones you've been speaking to of survival? Have the nest actually survived? Yeah, because you've got to
see. Yeah, so we relocate wasp nests sometimes for research purposes, and we lose a lot of the workers, but it's generally okay. The main problem is it depends what you put them in, because they can get mouldy if it's not enough ventilation. So it has to be a box that's well ventilated. But they're generally quite good as long as you move them. You need to move them at least like a few kilometres away from there.
Is Steve you're talking about? Steve Light?
Yes, Steve Light.
He's watching.
Yay! I told him about this tonight. Yeah. He's doing a great job with his canister.
Good.
Yeah, so I think it's really exciting time, and but the problem is where to put the nest. So I think if pest controllers can partner up with farmers who might be interested in exploring the idea of having wasps on their farms as natural pest control, then I think that could be a really nice partnership.
No, it sounds, there is a lot of people trying it. There's a lot of people. I think there is a future in it happening. I think there is a future in it happening. The uptake will be slow to start with, obviously, but I do think there's a future in it somewhere for certain people that want to do it. Yeah, I do.
Absolutely. It won't be.
Don't get me wrong. I've seen people online on Facebook groups take the absolute mickey out of people for doing that. But generally, if someone's, there are people out there now offering to either kill the nest, and there's some people that will relocate for if it's the right situation, and they offer it as a premium to relocate it.
So and people doing
there is some people doing it for like £20 more or something to like relocate. There are some people doing it. You know how internet forums can be. You get loads taking the mickey and I wouldn't do that and things like that. But pest control's ever evolving. It doesn't stay the same. You've got to try and come up with different ideas. You have as well. You have.
Yeah. And in fact, I came across, I'm just looking for the name of the person. I came across this other pest controller in the US, and now I'm not going to be able to find it.
Is it the YouTube channel you sent me?
Yes, that's right. I sent it to you. What was the name? Alex somebody or other?
Wait a minute, let's find it. Hang on.
But I thought that was really cool as well. So this guy is trying to well, he offers, actually I've looked at his website as well. He relocates
Wasp Away. He's called Wasp Away.
Wasp Away, that's right, yeah.
On YouTube, people. I didn't get a chance to look at it, but I will. I've subscribed.
Yeah.
So I will look at it.
So I only stumbled across it because he found me on Facebook and requested friend. I thought, oh, who's this? And then I saw some of his videos, and he relocates them mainly for getting venom, for this sort of anti-venom treatment for people who are very allergic. But if you look at some of the videos, you'll see, I mean, he's got the methods all sussed, he knows what he's doing.
So he showed you what he's doing?
Well, no, I only watched the videos that he provided on his Facebook page or his...
so I'll go and have a look. So does he actually show you him doing it, recording?
I'm not sure he actually moves the nest, but it's him in his vestbury with lots of nests hanging up, and it all looks like incredibly easy. And so I think there is. I think the more that the pest control community starts talking about this and thinking about it, as you say, it won't be for everybody. Not everybody will be prepared to do it or able to do it, but and not every nest is easily. If you've got like a nest within the rafters of a roof, then there's no way you can relocate that because you just can't get the whole nest out. But if it's if you come across a nice football-sized nest and you can just go up and gas it and then just grab the whole nest and put it in a box and relocate. The wasps are really good at reorientating because, as I said, they use visual landmarks really well. And so as long as you move them far enough away from where their original home was, like a couple of kilometers, they should be fine. If you only move them down the road like 100 meters or a few hundred meters, then they'll just go back to their old location.
Well, sometimes I do get nests that are ghost nests where they're getting lost and it's actually the window next door. Sometimes when the windows are they kind of get lost. I've seen it before where it was 2 houses down. All the houses look the same and the wasp nest was actually 2 houses down.
So funny.
It was.
You can give them, so when beekeepers have lots of hives close together, they might put little like markings on the hive front so they can orientate. You can do that with wasps as well. Give one a little triangle, one a square or something.
Oh, okay. Well, if there was one thing you could say to pest controllers to try and be better at their job or be more thoughtful, or what would you say that could help pest controllers in a way to, because obviously the chemical changes change things and we keep losing a lot of chemicals. I'm not a complainer. It's just the way it is. That's life, Is there any way we can research wasps or any way their biology to like kind of be better at the job, like, you know, in dealing with wasp nests?
Yeah,
So, do you think?
I think what you've said already is what you guys are doing. So when you get a call out, you know, talk to the client, see if, assess the situation, because you probably know a lot more about wasps than they do. And you can probably make a good assessment of, you know, there's like, they've got a dog and a cat and 3 babies, and like, okay, it's not good to have a baby, a nest around here, even if it's in the roof. And then there might be the situation where you're like, well, you know, they're sort of a young couple, they don't really have any kids or pets, and it's tucked away in the roof. I think, you know, making that assessment on and advising them whether they can live alongside the nest instead, and making it clear to them. But lots of people don't realize that by the end of the autumn, the wasps, you know, as soon as the really cold weather comes, the whole colony will just be gone. All the workers will die, and the mated queens will disappear. And you know, then they're unlikely to come back and they won't reuse the same nest. Often people end up having a nest in the same place year after year because it just happens to be a good location for wasps. But you know, I think most people think, because honeybees, of course, their colonies live year after year, perennial, so they're always there for several years, and that's not the case for wasps. So I think persuading people that, you've only, especially at this time of year, you know, they've only got 2 or 3 weeks left really of life, and that's the critical time when they're producing the sexuals, which will then go off and produce the colonies for next year.
Have they not been released? I thought the queens has already been released. Have they not? Yeah.
Depends on the colony. You know, they're producing sexuals at this time of year, and you know, they're not all producing one go and they've gone. They're
okay.
Even if you'll know that if you remove a nest even at the end of the autumn, they'll still be producing worker larvae. You know, they're still producing worker brood as well as the sexual brood. They just keep on going as long as they can. So there'll always be new queens being produced in the males, and they'll leave when they're ready.
Okay.
So I think managing people's options and expectations, and then I think also, you know, I would encourage you to think about, you know, as a community, you know, ways, methods, approaches to try and relocate colonies, maybe using carbon dioxide to knock the wasps down so you don't kill them, but they're knocked out so you can easily handle them and you won't get stung. And I know, I've got another good friend of mine who comes over from New Zealand every year, Bob Brown. He's a researcher, and in New Zealand the wasps are really invasive, and so they cause enormous amount of ecological damage. So there is definitely a problem there that they need to get rid of the wasps. So he comes here to study the parasites that live in our wasp nest, because there are lots. It's not just the wasps in that nest. There's all sorts of other microorganisms and organisms like little beetle larvae and fly larvae and parasitoid larvae, and they are all kind of feeding on the brood. And so
you should say that answers the question, actually, because we had a wasp nest recently that was on the plasterboard and it was in danger of, you know, coming through soon, and we obviously used the we've got thermal camera.
Oh, cool.
And we had to use the thermal to pinpoint it to kill the nest, because it literally was like you could see, you could feel the heat of it. It wouldn't have took much for them to come through. So what we had to do was put some holes directly in. But what we noticed was on one of the holes, a little bug came down. And I was like, what is that? So it must have been one of these parasites you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. There are lots of different organisms that live in wasp nests, and they're not well studied at all. But there are a few species that are known to be quite important in eating the brood, so they have an effect on the wasp nest. And so what Bob Brown is doing is taking these parasites back to New Zealand, where their biocontrol. They use this biocontrol against the wasps. So they've obviously there's very strict conditions on release of biocontrol agents in places like New Zealand, but he's got the permissions and now he's releasing them. And so hopefully that's a way of controlling them. But sorry, the reason I was going to tell you about that is that he comes along with his vacuum cleaner. And he wants the wasps alive and the whole colony, but especially if it's in somebody's house,
Yeah.
He gets the nest with his carbon dioxide, but he's still got lots of wasps flying around, and he'll just vacuum them up with his hand vacuum cleaner. So that's another way to catch them.
We've got one of them. We've got a vac. It's for bees, but it's never been used. We don't do anything to do with bees. But now what I find, the public love bees, but often tell us they've got wasps when they're bees. So we now right now in the appointment that if we will ID something, if you send us a photograph, we'll ID it for you. We turn up and it's bees, we will charge you for the call out and we won't do it. We've got a bloke who we recommend to do bee removal. And the minute he goes, it's up the chimney, I says, "Oh, you're joking. What do you mean? It's just bees." Right, looking. Yeah, it's bees. Oh, I just thought they were wasps. I says, wasp nests very rarely ever go in chimney pots.
Yeah.
But a lot of people around, the bee swarm season, they ring us. I've got a wasp swarm.
Yeah.
You haven't. No, you haven't.
No.
But I find it weird because everyone says they love bees, but they ring you and tell you that you've got wasps.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah. It's really common. I get that as well. They say, "Oh, we've got a wasp nest." So I come and have a look. It's like, "Oh, it's bees." Yeah.
Yeah. Just leave them alone if you can.
But I think it's interesting because actually most people, I mean, maybe they can't tell they're bees because they're quite far away. They just sort of fly in and out. But if somebody sees a wasp, they will know it's a wasp. Whereas most people can't really identify a honeybee unless they see it in the context of the hive.
Okay.
If you see an insect on a flower and it's a honeybee, most people can't tell you it's a honeybee. They might say it's a bee or they might say it's a wasp.
Yeah.
They can tell a wasp. They can normally say what a wasp is, unless it's, of course, it's a mimicking wasp, like a fly that's mimicking the wasp.
I had that one year where a lady sent me a photo, and I said it was a hoverfly mimic hornet, and she goes, "No, it ain't." I says, "It is.
Yeah.
It's not."
Volucella.
I says, "It is interesting." I'll tell you, I had an interesting thing this year where there was a hedge we had. And the lady was quite right to think it was a wasp nest. We got our suit on, and what they were doing, they actually made a hole in the top of the hedge, like you drop it into a wasp nest, and they were just targeting aphids and all insects in there, and all the wasps were going to that hedge, and they were using it as a feeding station.
Amazing.
And that's literally what it was, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, what you said about what can pest controllers do to sort of. Well, maybe this wasn't the question you were asking, but
that's fine. Yeah,
I'm really interested in what you guys observe, and that's amazing what you've just told me. And
it is. I've never seen it before, like in that way. I've seen them feed aphids, but I've never seen them go down. You know how when there's a wasp nest, they make like a hole in the bush.
Yeah.
I didn't take a photo of it though. Didn't think to. And then it's like, because we always say, "Are you going to one area?" And she was like, "Yes." Normally, you go in, out, one. In the hole, out.
Yeah.
And they were doing that motion, but they were just feeding on the aphids and all the insects in the bush.
Yeah.
There wasn't nothing there.
But those little kind of bits of information that you guys all have from just having picked up and observed things, I think it'd be really lovely to kind of be able to hear more of those stories, because I think there's a lot of information. These wasps are not, even though everyone knows what a yellow jacket wasp is, they're remarkably understudied relative to most other insects. There is so much that we don't really know about them. So their feeding behavior is a really important thing to learn about, because it helps people identify what's going on and also to manage them. And to if you know that they're feeding in that bush, you know that they're really not going to bother you because they're in the bush. They're not interested in you. Just leave the bush alone and you'll be fine.
Well, exactly. It was do you think are wasps not a study because the funding isn't there? Because I'd imagine that bees, it's $1 billion industry. Is it? I bet you it's to do with money, isn't it?
Well,
I'd imagine
partly to do with money. So obviously there's bees and bees. So the same way that people think that wasps are just yellow jacket wasps, people think that bees are just honeybees. But there's 22,000 species of bees, and you've got bumblebees, and you've got lots of species of bumblebees and of honeybees, and then there's lots of species of solitary bees. And again, most bees are solitary, they live alone. And so it's one of those things that, you know, people just think honeybees are the only bees out there. And of course, you know, beekeeping is big business with
yes, it is.
and wax and everything. And that is partly why we have learned so much about bees. You know, Aristotle studied bees because, you know, we've always had this strong relationship with honeybees. They're almost semi-domesticated. So we have tremendous knowledge and they are fascinating. But more recently, I think people have shifted their not shifted, but included or added on an extra reason to appreciate and study bees, which is because of pollination. And you know, when I was a child, you know, we weren't talking about putting out bee hotels in our gardens and planting bee-friendly flowers. And, you know, okay, we like, oh, there's a bee, but it wasn't like, oh, there's a bee, can I have a bee scarf, and can I have a bee mug, and can I have a bee brolly and a bee pen, and everything is bee merchandise. People have gone crazy for bees. And the reason is that there's been a lot more focus on, we need to care about the bees because they're really important as pollinators. And that's really important. And that messaging has been done so well, and the media have done a lot to help that as well. But, you know, children's books about bees, children learn about the importance of pollination and bees, but they don't learn about the importance of wasps as pest controllers, or, you know, spiders as pest controllers, or beetles as pest controllers. They just learn about the bees and the butterflies. So I think, you know, there is a lot, and that's partly why people like bees. But coming back to the funding thing, there's definitely been a lot of funding put into pollinator research because we are worried about, you know, we have good reason to be worried about the declining insect populations, the decline in pollinator populations, because we rely on them for pollinating our crops and also pollinating wild ecosystems. But we equally depend on the other insects, things like wasps, for controlling and as pest controllers. So I think the research has been a little bit, the funding for research has been a little bit sort of biased towards pollinators. Maybe the day of the pest control insect is coming. Maybe our funding will come soon.
No, it might be. I'm doing a course at the minute, a diploma in entomology. So I can learn more about insects and how it all works to be insect identification. I know what normal pests are, but it's a weak area identification. I'd like to be one of them people that is more knowledgeable about insects. To be honest, I would.
I mean, it'd be really lovely to get more pest controllers being members of the Royal Entomological Society, because they are really, you know, it's very old. It's almost 200 years old, the Royal Entomological Society, and it's really expanding its membership and very, very inclusive, and it's a portal to insect science, for people to learn about insects and to meet other people, to learn about insects from them and share stories. And so I do encourage your listeners to join the Royal Entomological Society to learn about. You don't get a diploma, but you do get to meet a bunch of cool people.
You have to have a degree in entomology to be in it. No,
anyone can be a member.
No, because this diploma is just a diploma. It's not like a degree.
No.
Steve's done it as well before. I think he told me.
Okay,
that's what he told me.
Yeah. I mean, no, the Royal Entomological Society, anyone can be a member. There's no criteria. You know, if you're interested in insects, you want to learn more about insects, and they have specialist groups. So there will be, you know, there are the pollinator groups, and there'll be pest controller groups and bees groups. There's no wasp group, actually. Maybe we should set one up.
There you go.
Oh, another thing I wanted to tell you about is that at the moment at UCL, sorry, little plug.
No, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's fine.
At UCL at the moment, we have an exhibition which is free and open to the public it's called the World of Wasps, which I do believe is the first wasp exhibition, a wasp art exhibition in the world, and it's at the Grant Museum of Zoology at UCL. And it's on till the end of January. So UCL is right in the centre of London. So if you find yourself in the Euston, Tottenham Court Road area, then you can just pop in and have a look. And we've got this. It's got a lot of my wasp nest collections in there that are beautifully curated by the museum staff, and it's in a collaboration with some digital arts people who've made this VR headset where you can experience crawling inside a yellow jacket nest.
Oh wow!
Flying your yellow jacket wasp through a rewilded Grant Museum. It's very cool, and there's also an amazing paper art by this artist Peter Ayres, who's recreated his version of a yellow jacket wasp nest out of paper, just from folded paper. It's really incredible. So I do recommend people to go along to see that, because it's I mean, you know, where else is there an exhibition on wasps?
Well, there ain't. I've never heard of one before. I haven't.
Yeah, no, well, as I say, I think this is probably the first one that really makes exhibitions about wasps. But it's all about, you know, displaying the world of wasps, and there's much more to wasps than just the yellow jacket wasps, and how incredible they are in their communication and how important they are in ecosystems. So it's an exhibition that's embedded within the museum, and we've also got like projections of wasps on the wall, so you'd be like looking around the museum, and then you'll suddenly see this wasp scuttle across the wall in front of you, just a projection of it. No, it's very cool. It's very. Have
you had anyone jump at the projection, not realising it's not real?
Yeah, probably. I think so. Yeah. No, we've had some lovely feedback. It's been on since, I think it was June it opened. It's a sort of relatively long-running exhibition, but there's a lot
of pest controllers that actually live in London that listen to this podcast, so you might get some go. You never know.
Grant Museum at UCL. Yeah, just if you just Google "World of Wasps," you'll come across in London. You'll come across the exhibition. So yeah.
Okay, but yeah, no, I don't. I'm conscious of time. I don't want to go over your hour because I know you're busy.
Yeah.
You are. But is there anything else you wanted to mention at all about? But I think you've covered it when it comes to pest controllers, haven't you? Really?
Yeah, I just think I mean, you know, I really get. I was always slightly wary of pest controllers because of what I do. I say don't kill the wasp, and then I kill the wasp. But actually, I've met so many lovely pest controllers who, and I think, you know, you're keeping people safe, and you're also thinking about how to do it in a more sustainable way. And obviously you're limited by the tools that you have at your disposal. But I think you're a very entrepreneurial crowd, and I think you have the potential to revolutionize and innovate. And you know, we'd love to work with you more. And I think, again, as I said, you know, this idea of a collaboration with farmers of relocating wasp nests is a thing that could happen. I think that's a really exciting area.
Yeah, someone did say something about that. Jason, in the Facebook chat, he just said he thinks it's a great. I think he thinks it's a great idea, but he's not sure that some farmers could be convinced by it. You probably have to convey it properly.
Yeah, that's the other side of the kind of the coin, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
And you know, the same way that pest controllers, you know, you have a really good understanding that these insects are really valuable. I think the farming community is also a community that we need to be talking to, and about the values of these insects. And again, as people are increasingly thinking about cutting down on the use of chemicals in agriculture, we should be looking more to these natural enemies, these natural pest controllers. And you know, if the great thing about these wasp nests is that you can treat them. If you imagine, like with what they do with the honeybee colonies, is in the States they will move hives of bees across the country to pollinate different crops at different times. They work their bees hard, so you can relocate colonies if you've got them in a hive, and you can do the same with wasps. So, you know, if Farmer Jones down the road wants some wasps in his field to catch the pests in his field for a few weeks, you put the wasps there, and then if farmer Robinson up the road, you know, a few weeks later decides that she needs some wasps on her farm, then we can move the wasps up there. And I think there's a lot of innovation that we can be doing, but I think it's you know, as wasp researchers, we can have some of these ideas. We can help with the biology to advise on how to do it and work with people, but we really need the interest and the buy-in from the communities who are involved. So the pest, you know, we can't. It's really hard for us to find wasp nests, but you guys get wasp nests all the time.
Yeah.
So I
you're right.
Sort of, you know, bringing the researchers together with the pest controllers and the farmers could be a rather lovely thing. Anyway,
it could be. No, it's just, I think it's been a really good podcast, and thanks for coming on, because
thanks so much for having me.
It is a conversation that needs to happen, and I thought, well, because I reached out to you on Facebook, didn't I? I messaged you on your actual post, and I put, and then you gave me your email. Then eventually you found my email in the spam folder. Then you replied.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
UCL thought you were spam, so I'm really sorry.
Yeah. No. It's fine. It's just no worries. So, do you want to promote anything? Would you like to promote your book? Have you got anything you want to promote?
Well, I mean, my book, you can read my book, Endless Forms, Why We Should Love Wasps. And I don't know. I mean, the Ham to Jam survey I think it's still running. I haven't looked at it for a while, actually. But if in the next summer,
I will be next summer. I will be, definitely.
Just Google UCL Ham to Jam. It's just a Google form at the moment. I might actually by next year have something a bit more fancy, but it's ham to jam is the key. Ham or jam, and the theory is that they'll move from a ham heavy diet to jam heavy diets by the end of the season, because of the way that the biology changes.
In the pest control community, there's always a bit of a joke there is with how to get wasps. You use a meme of stick jam on a child.
Oh yeah. I think
they don't mean it, it's a joke. But
recently, actually, I've said that. But it's been really lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. You know that picture you sent me? Is that another book, or is that your book in a different language?
Oh yeah, no, that's just my book. So my book's been translated into Russian, Dutch, German, and there's a Japanese one coming out. And they also translated it into Italian, did all the translation, designed the cover, and then the publisher, I don't know, I guess they ran out of money. They pulled it.
Okay.
That's very sad. There is a translation in Italian.
Okay, no, I just wondered, because you sent me that picture. I was like, I think that's the book in different languages.
And the cover of the hardback is like very different looking to the.
I noticed that one. Yeah.
That's again, it's a marketing thing. I guess it's the publisher who did that. So
it is a good cover. It is. It is. But anyway,
credit for it wasn't me.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on. It's been good to give you time up, and
no worries.
Hopefully loads of people are listening. I'll get some feedback, and hopefully someone might say, "Oh, I had a similar experience like what you mentioned," or we might get some feedback. If I get any feedback, I'll give you an email.
Fantastic.
I'll let you know. I will.
Brilliant. All right
then.
Sean.
Thank you for your time. All right then. No Thank you. Bye. Bye. Thanks for watching, everyone. That's been a fun show. Thanks, Steve and Jason in chat, for watching. And I'll see you all tomorrow. I'm back tomorrow. I've got Suan on from... Give me a second. Where's the thumbnail? From Guardian, Mosquito, and Tick Control in America. So that will be quite a fun one. But yeah, thanks everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow. Or if you're on Spotify, please leave a review. It will really help the algorithm. And please drop likes on all platforms. Thanks everyone.